Barcelona defeat Sevilla 5-2 in a game that needed to be won because Real Madrid had won earlier in the weekend, and we took care of business. It wasn't the brightest of days for Barcelona. I think that was evidenced by Hansi Flick's message after, and I mean this from a gameplay standpoint. I don't mean this from the scorecard. Obviously, at the scoreboard, we ran up the numbers and we had great numbers. We had a Raphinha hat trick, and we had a Dani Olmo goal and a great Cancelo goal as well. Um, but as far as the overall gameplay goes, I think the scoreboard doesn't tell the full story. The scoreboard doesn't tell the full story. I think Sevilla came out and played a very good game. It was just that on our side, we were clinical in our finishing, and obviously we found ourselves with two clear-cut penalties that helped facilitate and get the ball rolling as far as running up the numbers on the scoreboard. But as we all know, we have Champions League midweek against Newcastle in a tough game where we're going to have to close things off, and it's a must-win for us. And this game reeked of danger, and it reeked of complacency, and it reeked of us, not necessarily giving it the effort that it deserved in order to get the win. But especially seeing how tired the players had been in the Newcastle game due to the injuries. A lot of players are on tired legs. Raphinha, Lamine, Marc Bernal, Cubarsí, we saw that especially those guys that have been playing most of the minutes so far this season, they were under pretty heavy fatigue. So I was a bit concerned leading into this game, but I think the team showed the just right amount of effort, being able to see the game through in a comfortable fashion without necessarily having to jeopardize, their physicality looking forward to the next game against Newcastle. Takeaways from today. I think opponents are coming at us with this man marking and man dueling approach. It's the approach that's been most effective against us. Whenever teams kind of size us up one against one, they always try to outduel us and out hustle us and outbeat us. And whenever we haven't been up to par, that strategy has really led to some pretty sizable losses. Sevilla themselves in the first leg, as we all remember, they beat us 4-1 in Le Sanchez Pizjuan. And they came to play yet again another serious game. Matias Almeida has a really good team there. And they came in that first half, Sevilla did a really good job. They did a really good job, but unfortunately, we were the ones that capitalized on the chances that we did have and generated the two penalties. And yeah, so at the very least, I think the team took the game seriously. I think that we did resolve it in the first half, which allowed us to administer efforts much better. We were able to see this game through without having to put an overextensive effort that emptied out the tank that should leave us fresh leading into the Newcastle game on Wednesday. I think that one of the other things that I'm starting to really, really kind of admire and kind of have to shut my mouth about. In my short form content, I talked about how João Cancelo worried me as a signing because I think his concentration at times was really concerning, and particularly two big areas of concern for me were his defensive abilities when it comes to coming up against sizable wingers that are a 1v1 threat, and also I think his lack of concentrations in key moments. But man, so far, whenever this last couple of stretch games that he's been playing out of this world. And today, Raphinha obviously gets all the highlights because he scored a hat trick today. But man, for me, whose performance I'm left the most impressed with is João Cancelo. João Cancelo is an incredible fullback. He provides us with something that I think the reason that Rashford hasn't been getting as many minutes as one would want is because João Cancelo is providing us with the attacking threat on the left-hand side that Rashford just can't provide us. João Cancelo has this beautiful technical ability on the ball, and the ability he has to continue and facilitate play and be a threat in 1v1 off the dribble, off of passes, off of technical resources that allow him to get out of complex situations, eliminating men and driving the game forward is just too good. It's he's a quote unquote fullback because he likes operating, coming in from deeper within the field. But that man is an attacker at heart. He's so good. And I think it's different when you analyze a player under a team that's dysfunctional, like how Chavi's was in the 23-24 season, where we weren't up to peak performance like we are now. Seeing Joao Cancelo slotted into this flick side that plays so much better makes Joao Cancelo's performances that much better. And, as someone that was completely, resistant and hesitant towards his signing, I have to sit here with my hands up and shut up because, and that's my, look, that's my favorite kind of genre of player. Whenever I love to be proven wrong, I won't die on the hills that I stand on. I'm not dying on any hills. I'll be the first one. I'm eager to get proven wrong by a player performing well for Barcelona. I love this team. And when I see a player performing well, I'm here for it. Now, granted, do I still have doubts about Joao Cancelo in big games? Yes. Is that the purpose that he came to serve? No, he came to, in case Balde goes down, to have some more resources to play on either right back or left back, and to have another fullback be able to play as a center back, whether that's Gerard Martin, Araujo, or Kunde, or even Eddie Garcia. He gives us more depth in our back line, and we see that his signing has been crucial because with Balde being down now, we're able to play Gerard Maldini, another game putting in a shift, as center back, and Joao Cancelo at left back. And yeah, I think the expectations that I have for Cancelo, I know he's great going forward. I know he can play well going forward, and especially in mid-tier league games and lower tier league games, and games that we just kind of have to see through, like games like today. Um, Cancelo is a guy that can break down a low block, can break down a sticky game in a game where we overwhelmingly have more possession and we're in need of creativity attacking forward. As far as magic and creativity goes on the flanks, besides Lamine, the most creative one that we have is Joao Cancelo. Funny enough, as at the fullback position, it's funny because due to our style of play, Cancelo said the other day in the post game interview, he said, Flick tells me to dribble and I dribble, and um, and that's what he does. He has such a ability to take on players, remove them from the play, and create danger. And today, two penalties come from him drawing up drawing up a play for himself and getting two penalties. One being him getting tripped up, and the other one, the Sevilla defender, you know, I don't know, diving for the ball, fully extending his hand on the ground. And that's all him. And today he's the difference maker, and we get the 3 points, and super important 3 points. So quite honestly, yeah, I think Joao Cancelo is a huge value add for us this season, and it's a crucial signing in my opinion, because both of our fullbacks are down right now, and probably that pain in particular isn't being felt as intensely because we have Joao Cancelo. Um, and with that, I've come to understand that I know what I'm going to get from Joao Cancelo. I'm not expecting a defensive prowess from him. I'm not expecting this lockdown defender. And if push comes to shove and he has to start in those big games, I'm not gonna overly uh, hate on him or talk mess about him because I know the kind of player that he is. I really do hope that Balde and Kunde recover at a certain point in time to play in the crunch time of the season, in the later stages of all these knockout games and the league. But you know, I know what I get with Cancelo. Cancelo has his deficiencies. We saw in one of Sevilla's goals where he kind of steps way too far forward, and his back kind of gets shoot out. They beat him down the line, and then that's where one of Sevilla's goals come from. That's to be expected. But this is the Barca way. You score two, we score five. We're trying to outscore you. Although ideally, if everyone's playing concentrated and everyone's playing well, we should not be conceding. Anyways, Joao Cancelo, I mean, a round of applause for Cancelo. Cancelo, I just this guy. I love seeing magicians play on the ball. I love seeing guys that play well. And with him, I was really frustrated because I would say that he's a really context type of player that has to have people covering his back, has to have people, you know, has to have a particular environment that kind of makes the team somewhat revolve around him. But in a fully functioning team like the one we have right now, in games like today, man, he's crucial. Now it's clear cut and evident why we signed Cancelo, and I'm all here for it. What else was there to talk about today? Xavi Esparza's debut, proper game by him. Anytime Masia product comes onto the first team and makes his debut, it's always a great time. And he came on, had a couple minutes against Newcastle, but today he had his first start, and honestly, I think he had a correct proper game. I think there's a player there that we're just gonna have to wait and see. I'm not gonna sit here and think, oh, like, oh, this man is the reincarnation of Cafu, but it's any players that can add depth, that can have proper performances for us, and can have potential to evolve into the future of this team. I'm all here for it, and it's always a joy to see. Moving on. Who else? The other person that had a great game today was Dani Olmo. Dani Olmo had a very good game today. He's coming off of a very good cameo against Newcastle, and today, again, sitting in that 10 role, being that 10 that we all want to see. He had a great game today. It's just good seeing him get on the score sheet once again, because honestly, coming into crunch time of the season, we need the best out of Dani Olmo. And I know there's this funny ongoing, and then, honestly, there is truth to it. Whenever you have Fermin on the field, you want Dani Olmo. Whenever Olmo's on the field, you want Fermin on the field, because they each have attributes that you feel like the game needs at every point in time that the other's playing. But today, Olmo had a hell of a game. He took his chance very well and put it in the back of the net. And I'm really here for it. I know he was out here with a vengeance because of, all the elections going on and the choice of words Victor Font had for him during this campaign season. So I'm glad Dani Olmo had a great game today as well. Fermin came on in the second half. Fermin is just he's such a different profile to the players we already do have. He isn't the most technical. He isn't the one that hides the ball the most. He isn't that conservative on the ball. Fermin adds a level of verticality to this team that is just, sometimes, man, you just need to push the ball forward and drive the game through and take the game to the opponent, and that's what Fermin does. And it's awesome. He had a great game, great cameo. Second half was amazing. Pedri had a correct game. If there's anyone that is probably on an empty gas tank, it's Pedri. 45 minutes. The best news today is that he's able to get 45 minutes of rest. It's Pedri. What do you want me to say? Raphinha, the man of the hour, hat trick hero. Um, Coming off an injury and starting to get into rhythm of playing 90 minutes again, or playing a substantial load of minutes, and he finds himself with the hat trick. He hadn't been as productive as of late, going forward, but today he finds himself with the hat trick, with a beautiful first penalty, taking his paneca incredibly well, sending the keeper for a hot dog, and then for the second penalty, slotting it down and low. Well, really happy with his performance. Anytime I see Raphinha score, get on the score sheet, I'm a happy man. All Barca fans are a happy man, and he continues to deliver on his intangibles. Excessive pressure, incredible work rate, and whenever he adds goals to it, we're having a field day here. So, man of the match, takes the game ball home, and has a great game. Lewandowski. Okay. If there is a player that I want to be heading into this end of the season that I'm worried about, that I want to get them in a better dynamic with better momentum going into this final stretch of the season, it's Lewandowski. Because I think what Lewandowski can give us, the best version of Lewandowski can give us, is something that Ferran can't give us. And that's being a threat in front of goal. And it just sucked to see Lewandowski miss that header that he had, that chance that he had that gets crossed over to him. I can't remember who at the time, but also the 1v1 chance that he has that he slots out wide. That just shows a player that's kind of out of rhythm, and doesn't have the confidence that a striker should have at the moment. It's it's frustrating because we all know the kind of goal scorer that Lewandowski can be, and he just hasn't managed to catch a stride because he hasn't had a consistent run of games where he's starting because the minutes have been shared fairly evenly between Lewandowski and Ferran, and with one thing or another, both of them dealing with respective injuries, they're both almost a little bit fried from the efforts that they've had to put on so far this season. But I think it's important for Lewandowski to catch his rhythm, catch his stride, and start putting goals in the back of the net because we're going to need him. I think the chances of us winning the league and the Champions League run heavily through his ability to start putting chances in the back of the net because he's our most clinical finisher that we have in front of goal. You know, Raphinha is probably the second most, and Lamine is getting there, but he isn't a prolific goal scorer. Lewandowski is, and we need his goals. We need Lewandowski, and I think that it's coming to a point in time of season that yeah, we're gonna have days like today where he's missing chances, but I need him to get these minutes. I need him to get those reps so he starts getting confident once again in front of goal because he could take half chances and put them in the back of the net. That's something that most of the players on this team can't do. It's him. And I think we need to service him and kind of see this through. I know a lot of Barca fans might be frustrated and be maybe demanding for Ferran to be getting in and coming in, getting in minutes. But I think this team is much better with a Lewandowski in form than one out of form. And I'm expecting Lewandowski to catch his form and his stride because I think we're gonna desperately need him. And then whenever there's games, knockout stages, late La Liga games, and you need a goal, I want to count on a good Lewandowski. I want to count on an in-form Lewandowski, and I want to see that through. So, yeah, I think we're gonna need the best of Lewandowski for sure. And it's just unfortunate. It worries me. If I leave with one concern, is why isn't he putting these away? I want him to catch a stride, but he hasn't been able to. Um, but yeah, I think I want to see the best of Lewandowski moving forward. And yeah, and on another note, let's move on and talk about the other big news around Barcelona today, and that is that President Laporta has won the election against candidate Victor Font. And if you guys kept up with this campaign season, with this election season at the club, this was a very, very messy campaign between like all parties involved, club legends getting involved, people voicing their opinions, legends being put against legends, and people speaking out, people bringing up Messi, people bring Xavi stepping in and intervening and making his position known in favor of Font. Um, Seeing the players today back Laporta, and especially Dani Olmo really expressing his support for Jan Laporta. I think ultimately Barca won today because I think yet again I'd like to reiterate that the most important thing that a candidate has to come to with this club, this is a footballing institution and we need a sporting project. The finances, the business aspect, the revenue generation, all that stems from having a solid sporting project, a successful one that brings silverware to the club, one that excites people and draws sponsors to the club, partnerships, people attend the games, having sold out games, and filling up the Camp Nou. All that stems from a sporting project, and ultimately, Font had a poor campaign. Not giving merit to anything that Laporta had done. Really trying to capitalize on the discrepancies Messi has with Laporta. But man, the time is now, and Laporta is sitting here. Whenever he took over this club, we were sitting in such a poor position in both economically and on the sporting level, and now we're putting silverware. We're winning silverware. We have we've started the new stadium. We're building the new stadium. We are generating revenue at an incredible rate where we've lowered our expenses, we've lowered the player salaries. The percentage of revenue to salaries is at a healthy ratio now, and we've continued to improve year upon year. We've renewed key young players, that Masia products that have had offers from other places, but we've managed to retain them and renew them and keep them under a proper wage structure. And with that, you formulated a winning sporting project because with Flick at the head, with Deco as a sporting director, Bojan working under him, and Flick doing leading the sporting area, and they Flick has made it very, very well known his complete comfort and support working with Deco and Boyan and Laporta, and that environment that has been cultivated needed to continue. And quite frankly, Font was coming in with his own guys. He named a bunch of guys that weren't necessarily men of revolving around the game. He kept saying, "Yeah, Flick is a worker of the club, and the players are workers of the club," but like it's the same thing that happened in 2012 whenever Rosell wins the presidential elections against Laporta. And he comes in, and the first thing, he had already had his discrepancies with Chiqui Birisain, who was our sporting director at the time. So when Rosell comes, Chiqui leaves, and a season later, Guardiola leaves. Why? Because he was put in an uncomfortable situation where his man of confidence was taken away from him, and the sporting area started, buying their own players and stuff that Pep wasn't necessarily aligned to. And it's unfortunate, but it's kind of beautiful to like seeing today the players go vote, ex players go vote, seeing the turnout of our socios pulling up to vote is just awesome to for us to be able to steer the direction in which we want the club to go to. That does come with its respective faults and drawbacks, though. But ultimately, we were able to elect and see through the project that Laporta has started, and then Font posed a threat to that because Font just kept saying, Deco won't necessarily he'll have to fall under our structure, but these are going to be my guys. He had a tandem of three guys that I don't know who they were, but point is, if they weren't named Flick, Deco, and Bojan, I don't want to hear it because why would you break something that's working so well right now? And that posed the biggest threat to me. That was the biggest thing for me. For him to see these people as Laporta's guys instead of assets for the club, and eventually cultivating an environment that would have see Fleek make his way out the door. I'm sorry, but no. And I know Laporta isn't a saint. He isn't flawless. There has been issues that should be addressed regarding overarching optimism and certain promises broken, and the way certain situations have been handled, and discrepancies with some club legends like Messi and Xavi and whatnot. But from a sporting perspective, nothing made more sense than Laporta's continuity. And honestly, he deserves to see this through. We have a president now that's going to be here through 2031. He's going to continue to maximize our revenue and lower our expenses. And first and foremost, we know we have a tandem in the sporting area with Flick, Bojan, and Deco that that is working in that have great synergy with one another, and that's going to continue. And that's the most important thing for me. The Masia development has been well. The signing of young players, the alignment, everything has been working so well, and that was the primary thing that I wanted to protect. And yeah, that's Laporta was the only way to move forward. It's actually concerning that so many people would vote for Victor Font because Victor Font, this whole campaign was like just such a headache, and I'm so glad that they're over now and that we can focus on the football, focus on what's happening on the pitch, rather than all this noise, clouding around the elections. Because Victor Font's campaign was honestly very ridiculous, focusing on attacking and not giving any merit to what Laporta was doing, and just focusing on certain aspect. The biggest thing, his discrepancies with Messi, and wanting to have Messi's involvement in this, and capitalizing on having Xavi go do that interview, and in a very awkward time, pinning Xavi against Laporta, and causing this internal strife between fans, board members against Xavi. It's not healthy, and I was saddened to see that it had gotten so messy. But I'm glad that it's over. I'm glad that we're able to continue with this project, and I think Laporta deserves to see through the building of the new stadium. It's an initiative that no one else took the liberty to do, but he did. He's restructured our debt for it to be affordable. We've reduced our debts and we continue to pay them off with higher income streams, new partnerships, a brand deal with Nike, brand deals with Spotify, and sponsorship deals with Spotify. It's going well. Things are going well ultimately, and we can continue to demand for certain things to operate better under Laporta. But he was the man. He was our guy, and I think on the English side of like, because a lot of this stuff is really hard to keep up with if you don't speak Spanish. But I'd encourage everyone to go look for some credible sources from the Spanish speaking side that can interpret a lot of these issues up very well, because I feel like on the English side of like Twitter Barca or the Barca fandom, the importance of Laporta isn't valued enough. This guy has saved this club from ruins twice. In 2003, after the Gaspar era, where it was the worst position, like that Rivaldo bike that everyone raves about was for us to qualify for the Champions League or Europa League, one of the two. We were down bad, guys, like horrendously, sitting mid-table. And then the same thing coming off of being not able to register players. Who doesn't remember that infamous lineup where Serginho Dest, Luke De Jong, and I don't know who else on the attack, Jugla, something like that. And then to see this team completely rebuilt with Masia talent, with adding key signings that have been in addition to us, this sense of belonging that these players have, the way they fight for this club, and the way we've been able to compete once again at bringing us back to the status that we belong in Europe as one of the best teams in the world, if not the best, in my opinion. Man, like we need to give value to and credit where credit is due. Deco has done a remarkable job. The signings, from these young players like Rooney Bardghji, bringing Cancelo on loan. What else? The Dani Olmo signing. The renewals of all the Masia kids under a proper wage structure. It's been great. I don't have many complaints. What can you complain about Deco with the ability he has had to spend? He's done a great job. This team is well rounded. There's gaps. There's obviously we're gonna have to address the needs at center back and in the striker position, and hopefully, in my opinion, a backup for Pedri. But beyond that, guys, he's done a good job, and if Laporta's proven something, it's that he's been able to revive this club, and his tenures have been the most successful in our history. With exception of Nunez in the Cruyff era. Why get rid of that? Because whenever we have stepped away from him, we've fallen down to the slums, and you guys don't understand that. And I need everyone to understand that anyone who is against Laporta, I want to reiterate, he has his flaws. But anyone that was against him or voted against him, I'm deeply concerned, because how on earth have you reached those conclusions? It's completely wrong. I'm sorry, but you're in the wrong. Anyways, ultimately, I think Barca won today, both on and off the pitch. But let me know what you guys made of the game. Let me know what you guys made of the elections. Drop a like, drop a comment, and subscribe to the channel. See you guys next time.